Living on an urban planet. Consider this. In 1800, less than 3% of the world's population lived in cities. But by 2050, this could increase to over 66%. The trend is clear and the conclusion inescapable. Humans have become an urban species. Cities as solutions. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, large urban areas began to grow and spread. Many people viewed cities largely in negative terms: crowded, dirty, unhealthy places full of disease and crime. People feared that as cities got bigger, living conditions would get worse. Recent decades, however, have seen a widespread change in attitudes toward urbanisation. Many experts believe that urbanisation is good news. Although negative aspects such as pollution and urban slums remain serious problems, many urban planners now believe big cities might help solve the problem of Earth's growing population. Harvard economist Edward Glaeser is one person who believes that cities bring largely positive benefits. According to Glaeser, cities are the absence of space between people. This closeness reduces the cost of transporting goods, people, and ideas, and allows people to be more productive. Successful cities also attract and reward smart people with higher wages, and they enable people to learn from one another. According to Glaeser, a perfect example of how information can be shared in a big city is the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange. There, employees share information in one open, crowded space. They value knowledge over space, he says. That's what the modern city is all about. Another champion of urbanisation is environmentalist Stewart Brand. According to Brand, living in cities has a smaller impact on the environment than living in suburbs and rural areas. Cities allow half of the world's population to live on about 4% of the land. City roads, sewers, and power lines are shorter and require fewer resources to build and operate. City apartments require less energy to heat, cool, and light than houses in other areas. Most importantly, Brand points out that people living in dense cities drive less. They can walk to many destinations and use public transportation. As a result, cities tend to produce fewer greenhouse gas emissions per person than suburbs. Because of these reasons, it may be a mistake to see urbanisation as evil. Instead, we should view it as an inevitable part of development, says David Satterthwaite of London's International Institute of Environment and Development. For Satterthwaite and other urban planners, rapid growth itself is not the real problem. The larger issue is how to manage the growth. There is no one model for how to manage rapid urbanisation, but there are hopeful examples. One is Seoul, South Korea. Seoul's success story. Since the 1960s, Seoul's population has increased from fewer than 3 million to more than 10 million people. In the same period, South Korea has also gone from being one of the world's poorest countries to being richer than many countries in Europe. How did this happen? Large numbers of people first began arriving in Seoul in the 1950s. The government soon recognised that economic development was essential for supporting its growing urban population. It therefore began to invest in South Korean companies. This investment eventually helped corporations such as Samsung and Hyundai grow and develop. A major contributing factor for South Korea's economic success was the large number of people who came to Seoul to work. You can't understand urbanisation in isolation from economic development, says economist Kyung-Hwang Kim of Sogang University. The growing city paid for the buildings, roads, and other infrastructure that helped absorb even more people. South Korea's growth cannot be easily copied. However, it proves that a poor country can urbanise successfully and incredibly fast. Managing urbanisation. Despite success stories such as Seoul, urban planners around the world continue to struggle with the problem of how to manage urbanisation. While they used to worry mainly about city density, urban planners today are focusing on urban sprawl, the way big cities are spreading out and taking over more and more land. Shlomo Angel is an urban planning professor at New York University and Princeton University. He thinks rising incomes and cheaper transportation are two main reasons for urban sprawl. When income rises, people have money to buy more space, he says. With cheaper transportation, people can afford to travel longer distances to work. In the second half of the 20th century, for example, many people in the United States moved from cities to suburban areas. This trend led to expanding suburbs, which led to more energy use and increased air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. Today, many planners want to bring people back to downtown areas and make suburbs denser. Some ways to densify suburbs include creating walkable town centres, high-rise apartment buildings, and more public transportation. This would make people less dependent on cars. It would be a lot better for the planet, says Edward Glazer, if people are in dense cities built around the elevator rather than in sprawling areas built around the car. Shlomo Angel believes that planning can make a big difference in the way cities are allowed to grow. However, good planning requires looking decades ahead, reserving land for parks and public transportation, for example, before the city grows over it. It also requires looking at growing cities in a positive way as concentrations of human energy. With the Earth's population headed toward 9 or 10 billion, dense and carefully planned cities are looking more like a solution. Perhaps the best hope for lifting people out of poverty without wrecking the planet.